Earlier this month, we brought you a frightening report of Americans visiting Mexican resorts and experiencing mysterious blackouts that resulted in some cases in death. My next guests have tried to report their safety concerns on a leading travel site, TripAdvisor, only to have their online posts warning about their own rapes or the deaths of loved ones taken down. TripAdvisor says it has worked to address their concerns, but they say the ability to post honest reviews could mean the difference between life and death. In the fall of 2010, Kristie Love headed to Mexico on what she thought would be a dream getaway at the Iberostar Paraíso Maya, a 4-star resort. 3 days into her trip, Kristie says she was raped by a security guard who worked at the property. She says she reported the rape to hotel officials, but a manager told her she'd merely been harassed. According to Kristie, hotel officials refused to call the police. But Iberostar officials told NBC News hotel staff offered Kristie, quote, all assistance possible, including medical assistance, and offered to accompany her to the appropriate police station. But according to them, Kristie preferred to work with U.S. Embassy personnel. Kristie says she returned to the U.S. to seek medical treatment. She also tried to post a warning about her experience on TripAdvisor, a travel site she says she'd always turned to for travel guidance, but no such luck. She says she tried at least 12 times in December 2010 to post about her rape allegation on a review section of the TripAdvisor site, and all 12 times her post was removed. She says TripAdvisor told her her post wasn't, quote, family-friendly. Kristie is not alone. According to reports this month in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, other women tried to post about safety concerns and sexual assaults at Mexican resorts and claimed their posts were similarly removed. For Maureen Webster, her complaints about TripAdvisor involved the death of her son. In 2007, Maureen's son, 22-year-old Nolan Webster, died at the Grand Oasis in Cancun after being found at the bottom of a hotel pool. Maureen believes tainted alcohol is to blame.
They did nothing to help him and left him dead beside the pool for 4 hours.
Maureen says she tried to post on TripAdvisor about her son's death, but TripAdvisor removed her warning, saying it did not meet the site's posting standard.
I think it's borderline criminal what they're doing.
TripAdvisor says its policy is that reviews need to be firsthand, meaning written by the person who traveled to the location, not secondary accounts from others not on the trip, like family members. Instead, TripAdvisor directs those sorts of comments to their forum section. But even when she posted on the forum section, Maureen says her post was removed after just a few days.
This is a cute one, too.
Maureen says she has since reached a confidential settlement with the hotel. 6 years after Maureen's son died, Karen Smith's son, Brian, age 38, died at the same Mexican resort, also after drinking alcohol and mysteriously passing out in the hotel pool. Karen also believes tainted alcohol was to blame. We reached out to the Grand Oasis Hotel numerous times for comment about this story, but received no response. Maureen and Karen believe there's a chance that had Maureen's original travel warning on TripAdvisor been allowed to post, Karen's son might have seen it and stayed elsewhere. Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin is seeking answers from TripAdvisor about any alleged censorship, writing in a letter to the Federal Trade Commission, when consumers are unable to post honest reviews about a business, it can harm other consumers whose abilities to make well-informed purchase decisions are hindered and harm businesses that work hard to earn positive reviews. In a written response to Baldwin, the FTC wrote that it is looking into TripAdvisor's alleged censorship. TripAdvisor told NBC News it has yet to hear from the FTC directly, but says it remains committed to helping travelers. As part of efforts to improve the site, TripAdvisor says it has started a travel badge warning system. If a hotel has serious complaints lodged against it, the property will be tagged with a red banner warning. But exactly how long the warning badges remain posted is at the discretion of TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor says Maureen's story about her son Nolan is now back up in the forum section of the site. As for Kristie, TripAdvisor says it has apologized to her for removing her rape report, and earlier this month it changed its policy, allowing reviews to include the words rape or sexual assault. TripAdvisor says Kristie's report is now back on the site. But for Kristie, Maureen, and Karen, they say recent changes are too little, too late. Karen, Maureen, and Kristie are with us now, and we will hear more of their story right after this break. Don't go away. Before the break, we met 3 women who say they experienced life and death conditions at Mexican resorts and tried to report them on the online travel site TripAdvisor, only to have their posts taken down. Karen, Maureen, and Kristie, welcome. Thank you very much for coming here. Kristie, let me start with you. Your review now of the resort where you say that you were raped has now been reposted 7 years after you originally tried to post it. It took so long. TripAdvisor now says it's doing the right thing. Do you think it's doing enough?
It's definitely not doing enough, no. To do a 3-month badge, in my opinion, it's criminal.
Can you explain what you mean by that, 3-month badge?
3-month badge for something that is a rape, something that they're putting something up that if there has been any sort of criminal activity, they're going to put a badge on TripAdvisor that's going to last 3 months. It basically good behavior, that's going to be removed. So, you know, somebody who's going, they're not going to see that in 6 months. They're not going to see that in a year or 3 years or 5 years. It's going to be removed.
Maureen, that's basically what happened to you. You tried to post a warning about your son's death.
I did.
And TripAdvisor took it down. Did they provide you with an explanation?
It did not meet their posting standards, and there's a clause in all of their, whenever they pull down a post, the bottom line in that post says that we reserve the right to remove any post for any reason, and I don't think people are aware of that fact. So basically, that they have complete control about what posts stay up and what posts come down.
They're claiming that it has to be a first-person account.
Right, which
is absurd because her son died.
Right, he could not post for himself. So my first posting on TripAdvisor was really a desperate mom just trying to find out, did anyone see what happened to my son? Because the resorts weren't giving us the answers. It seemed to me that the resort didn't care that my son died there. So I was desperate, and I was just looking to find anyone that had stayed at that resort that may have seen something, because Nolan had traveled with his girlfriend, and what they did to her was removed her from the resort and moved her 5 miles down the road, so she couldn't even ask questions, you know.
Karen, your son went to Mexico, same area, same place, about 6 years after.
Right.
About 6 years after Maureen's son. You checked TripAdvisor?
I did. When he told me where he was going, that's the first thing I used to do. I would always go to TripAdvisor to find out what the place is like and what the reviews said about it. And there were a few that said that people had money stolen from them or cell phones. So it caused me a little bit of a concern, but they took the necessary precautions, they thought, to make sure their money was secure, their cell phones were secure. There was clearly nothing on TripAdvisor about anything dangerous that would really have raised red flags. Anything, to the extent where someone may have died there, unexplained, they couldn't explain why the death was. So off to the Grand Oasis he went, and again, like Maureen, they won't give us any information. They haven't given us information. So I posted on the review section, but also in the forum section. Is there anyone that was at the Grand Oasis, that week my son was there, that could give us any information? I had no idea what happened, still don't. And they took the piece down in the forum section as well, not just under the reviews.
That's the one supposed to be looser. And
exactly.
Even that, they wouldn't even, why did they say they took it down from the forum section?
They didn't, the two things can happen in the forum section. They can take a comment off, they can close the topic, or they can delete the whole thread. Right. They deleted the whole thread.
Why do you believe they're doing this?
Well, there's a conflict of interest, for one. Right. They're in the business to book trips and book hotels. And if there's too much negative publicity out there, I think people aren't going to be booking with them.
Do you think, what do you think you would have done if you had read Maureen's review before your son's trip?
I already told him I was a little concerned just because of the thefts that were going on at the resort. So if I had known something of that magnitude, he paid for this trip himself, I would have given him more money to stay at a different resort, anything to just change the resort and be cautious. And a lot of people say, you know, I'm just going to stay in the resort. I'm not going to leave the compound. Everything's going to be fine. But that's where the problems are occurring, at the resort, within the confines of the resort.
And the reality is, Kristie, we've heard this from other guests, that when you have a health complaint or a criminal complaint at some of these resorts, if you are certainly an American citizen, it is not always taken seriously.
It's not taken seriously. It's the judicial process in Mexico as a U.S. citizen under Mexican law. And what I was given, you know, going to the hotel, the lobby right after this happened by a security guard, they refused to call the police. Refused. Flat out begged them to call. They would not call the police. At that point, they took me to my room. The next day, I had the embassy contact me, and my options were I was going to have to extend my stay 7 to 10 days, stay there by myself, 7 to 10 days at that property. I had already gone to, you know, security. I had already gone to the hotel. Nothing was working for me.
Yeah, you weren't looking to extend your stay.
Definitely not, nor come back, you know, 2 to 3 times over the next year in order to prosecute. So I really, really felt like I could leave it in Mexico.
I mean, the irony of being told that your rape allegation wasn't family friendly is apparent to anybody watching the story. I want to tell our viewers that NBC News did reach out repeatedly to TripAdvisor, inviting a representative to be part of this segment. TripAdvisor declined, but provided a statement which reads in part that after these complaints, TripAdvisor worked to revise its guidelines to make it easier for reviewers to post about negative experiences and to find out when posts are rejected and why TripAdvisor says, and why. TripAdvisor says, as a user-generated content platform that receives hundreds of pieces of content per minute every day, we believe our guidelines work well. We continue to review our guidelines and we'll continue to update them to better serve our users and businesses. You know, honestly, sometimes just Googling can be more helpful than these websites. And the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel has been doing great work on what's happening. It's not that all these Mexican resorts are troubled or problematic, but there have been enough that you need to pay attention as you make your holiday plans.
Absolutely.
Thank you all. Sorry for your loss. Hope you're okay.
Thank you.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.